One of the great pleasures of running for president is the opportunity to meet people all across the country. And I've become friends with many of you, and those of you who I have not yet gotten to know, I'm hopeful that over the course of the next 4 years that I've got an opportunity to work with you closely. In fact, being with governors is a little bit like a homecoming for me, because while I stand here today or sit here today as president-elect, I will never forget the fact that I got started in state government. And it is in state and local governments that the most meaningful changes take place, and some of the most difficult decisions have to be made. And nobody, I think, is more in tune and in touch and mindful with what is going on across the country than the nation's governors. So I'm going to spend most of my time here today listening and not making a long speech. I do want to give you a little bit of context for how we are thinking about the issues at this point. I recognize that every single one of you is struggling to come up with a budget at a time when you're facing great and growing needs. More and more people are turning to you for help, for health care, for affordable housing, to prevent foreclosures, even as the credit markets are tightening and tax revenues are making it more difficult to provide that help. 41 of the states that are represented here are likely to face budget shortfalls this year or next, forcing you to choose between reining in spending and raising taxes. Jobs are being cut, programs for the needy are at risk, libraries are being closed, and historic sites are being closed. Right here in Philadelphia, as Ed has already remarked, we've got over 200 workers being laid off. Hundreds of positions are being left unfilled or being eliminated. Meanwhile, virtually all of you are facing the additional challenge of state constitutions that require you to balance your budgets. So you're placed in an extraordinarily painful choice of violating your constitutional responsibilities or upholding those responsibilities at the expense of helping families. So to solve this crisis and to ease the burden on our states, we're going to need action, and we're going to need action swiftly. That means passing an economic recovery plan that helps both Wall Street and Main Street, and this administration does not intend to delay in getting you the help that we need. We intend to help save or create 2.5 million jobs. We intend to put tax cuts into the pockets of hard-pressed middle-class families in your states. And we intend, as has already been discussed, to start making a down payment on the critical investments that are going to be necessary to sustain long-term economic growth as well as pull us out of the current slump. But the reason this meeting was so important to Joe and myself is because we recognize that change is not going to come from Washington alone. It's going to come from all of you. It will come from a White House and state houses all across the country that are working together, and that's the kind of partnership that I intend to forge as President of the United States. I hope that this is the beginning of laying that foundation. Over the next few hours, I'm looking forward to hearing from you about the problems you're facing, learning about the work that you're doing, experiments that are working, things that are not working, where you think an investment on the part of the federal government will make the biggest difference, how we can reduce health care costs, rebuild our roads, our bridges, our schools, and ensure that more families can stay in their homes. But the partnership we begin here cannot and will not end here. As president, I'm not simply asking the nation's governors to help implement our economic plan. I'm going to be interested in you helping to draft and shape that economic plan. My attitude is that if we're listening to the governors, then the money that we spend is going to be well spent. And it means that it's going to get working faster, and the people in your states are going to experience prosperity sooner. Now, let me just wrap up by saying this. I know these are difficult times. I don't think anybody here is viewing the situation through rose-colored glasses. We're going to have to make some hard choices in the months ahead about how to invest these tax dollars, we're going to have to make hard choices like the ones that you're making right now in your state capitals. We're going to have to make in Washington. And we are not, as a nation, going to be able to just keep on printing money. So at some point, we're also going to have to make some long-term decisions in terms of fiscal responsibility. And not all of those choices are going to be popular. But what I can promise you is this, that I'm going to listen to you. I'm going to seek your counsel. And by the way, I'm going to listen to you especially when we disagree. Because one of the things that has served me well, at least, in my career is discovering that I don't know everything. And all of you, I think, are going to be extraordinarily important in keeping us on track, not allowing Joe and myself to get infected with Washingtonitis, and to constantly be reminded of the realities that are happening to folks back home. A special message I want to deliver to my Republican colleagues who are here. I offer you the same hand of friendship, the same commitment to partnership as I do my Democratic colleagues. There is a time for campaigning, and there is a time for governing. And one of the messages that Joe and I want to continually send is that we are not going to be hampered by ideology in trying to get this country back on track. We want to figure out what works. That doesn't mean that we're not going to have some disagreements, but what it does mean is that if you can show me something you are doing that's working, or if you tell me that this program or this regulation is hampering us from doing smart things that will advance the interests of our state, then you're going to have a ready ear. And that is going to be something that I want everybody to understand. So I think it was Justice Brandeis who said, during a period of much greater turmoil in the markets, although I haven't checked what's happening right now, but than we're experiencing at the moment, he said, a single courageous state may, if its citizens choose, serve as a laboratory, experimenting with innovative solutions to our economic problems. And that's the spirit of courage and ingenuity and stick-to-itness that so many of you embody. That's the spirit that I want to reclaim for the country as a whole, one where states are testing ideas, where Washington is investing in what works, and where you and I are working together in partnership on behalf of the great citizens of this nation.